Hi, everybody. It's Christina Quick. I hope that you guys are doing well. Hope this live stream finds you in good spirits. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about mediumship. And I'm just going to get us pinned to the top here so everybody can find us. By the way, I am live streaming it in my free group on Facebook. It's called the Profitable Psychic Business Academy Lounge. I will have a link in the bottom description so that you can find your way here if you would like to join us. Today, we're going to be talking about signs that you have mediumship abilities. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about what mediumship is, because I think that, I have a quite different idea of what mediumship is than most people. And mediumship is really, really such a huge topic. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can be a psychic medium, and not all of them are going to actually involve speaking to people from the other side. So let me just make sure, if you are here and you can see me, could you let me know if the sound and audio is okay? I'm just going to go ahead and check that on my end. It's been a minute since I've logged in to do a live stream on here, so I just want to make sure everything's working. Okay, everything's working. All right. So if you're here, just let me know. Say hi to let me know where you're listening from. Today we're going to be talking about mediumship, and this is actually going to be hi Jessica, good to see you. This is actually going to be a series that we're going to be continuing for a little while. We're going to talk about mediumship for a little while. So if you're not sure what we're doing here, hello, my name is Christina Quick. I'm also known as the Tarot Biz Mentor Online. I run the Profitable Psychic Business and Divination Academy, so you probably know me as the Tarot Biz Mentor on YouTube. I also have, again, the Profitable Psychic, which is my main academy, and I have been a professional full-time psychic for over 10 years now. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jess. And so, I've been doing this for a long time. I started out as a tarot reader, then I started out as a medium, and then I did angel communication, and then I did psychic development for a number of years and hosted psychic development. Hi, Bethany, good to see you. And so, I've been around in this industry for a long time as a professional. And now, as of the last probably 6 years, I have been primarily working as a business coach and helping people start their own profitable psychic businesses and teaching people how to scale to 6 and 7 figure success, and really making sure that we are getting good money in the hands of good people. And so we can really help the world to become a better place and help fulfill our purposes, right? To help people and to uplift the world and hopefully make a difference. So today we're going to be talking about signs that you have mediumship abilities. And some of these are going to be things that you probably have that have been going on in your life, or things that you have experience with, but maybe you never really knew that they were mediumship skills. Okay. So when I say mediumship, most people are going to think about talking to people from beyond the grave. They're going to think about doing mediumship readings. There are going to be people like John Edward, Teresa Caputo that are going to come to mind, these celebrity mediums. And primarily, mediumship is just, if you're outside this industry, it's really easy to just kind of assume that mediumship means talking to dead people. And that is true. Mediumship does mean talking to dead people, but it doesn't always mean talking to dead people. And in fact, talking to people that are beyond is just one small part of mediumship. Mediumship is a much, much larger conversation than just talking to other people from that have passed on. There are not just, you can talk to not just other people, but if you talk to spirits at all or have any sort of connection to any type of spirit, whether that's your spirit guides, your ancestors, any type of guardian angels that you may have around you, any type of thought forms that you may have created. So for example, if you're more aligned with the animist shamanistic tradition, creating these, learning to connect with your spirit helpers, that is a mediumship ability. If you have an empathetic connection with animals or people, that is also a mediumship capability. And what does mediumship really mean? Is it's really about the ability to pick up signals, psychic information, and feelings from people, places, and things. Okay. And so there's a lot of crossover that happens with psychic abilities and mediumship. Mediumship is just like a sub branch of psychic abilities. So all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums, if that makes any sense. And how you can differentiate between being a medium and being a psychic is if you connect with any type of being outside of yourself, if you channel any type of beings, if you channel extraterrestrials, if you channel angels, if you channel animal spirits, if you channel people from the other side, if you channel spirit guides, if you channel other people's spirit guides, if you channel any type of being, meaning communicating with some type of spirit entity. It could be a person that once existed, doesn't necessarily have to be, but it could be. But if you connect with any type of being, it could be a tree, it could be a flower, right? Its mediumship is really based on this idea of animism. Animism is this idea that everything has a soul, everything has a spirit, right? And then if you think about also in terms of the law of attraction, the law of attraction is about creating cooperative relationships on all regards, right? So mediumship, spirit communication, law of attraction, animism, these things are all just different words for how we communicate and interact with the other beings, the other spirits in our environment, right? So if you simply talk to fairies or work with fairies, or if you work with a god or a goddess or a pantheon of gods and goddesses, and you channel information from those beings, you are exercising mediumship abilities. So whether you talk to people from beyond, or whether you talk to animals, whether you talk to flowers, trees, whether you talk to crystals and rocks, spirits within crystals and rocks, right? It's this idea that there is a living conscious spirit entity within everything, and it can be communicated with, right? And you can also work with it to produce certain results. That's more of a witchcraft type of thing, but still, nonetheless, you can still form cooperative relationships with these spirit allies. And that is still another version of mediumship, right? So if you are a medium, chances are you're going to probably have a lot of stigma or a lot of baggage attached to that because, well, I mean, think about it. We have all of these shows on TV, and we have all of these movies out there that kind of give like this really exaggerated version of what being a medium is. But being a medium is not necessarily something we do. It is something we do, but it's really more of a lifestyle. It's really more of a worldview. It's really more of a perspective. It's understanding that everything has a soul, everything has a spirit, and all of these spirits and souls are petitionable, meaning we can channel them, we can work with them, we can work in collaboration with them to manifest certain things such as like abundance or protection and safety, right? So some of the early signs of being a medium that you may not think of being a medium is, especially as a child, being super highly aware, being a very hyper sensitive person, right? Highly sensitive person, or even growing up to becoming possibly even neurodivergent. If you have ADHD, or if you have ADD, or if you have Asperger's, or you are on the autism spectrum at all, chances are, hey, Arya, good to see you. Chances are that you have some mediumship capabilities, because what mediums do is they can interact with the unseen world. That means that there's more to this world than what we can just see and feel and interact with on a physical level. There's so much more to it. So if you, as a child, were someone who was hyper aware of specific places, because maybe there are energetic imprints on that place, maybe certain places make you feel sick or ill or upset, maybe there was tragedies that kind of happened at that location, or maybe there were traumas that happened at that location. On the other side of that, maybe there's certain places that make you feel super happy and super energetic and super safe and comfortable. And maybe that's because those certain areas have been, there have been good things that have happened to that area. So if you have been, as a child, even or as an adult, if you have been very conscious and very super aware of locations, and you can feel certain energies, whether you can explain that or not, it's kind of besides the point. Maybe some specific places make you feel certain ways. Maybe some places make you feel anxious or upset or sad, or some places make you feel, some locations make you feel happy and energetic and enthusiastic and content, right? So chances are that as a mediumship, as a medium, you are interacting with the different force fields, the different energies, the different planes of existence, the different energetic imprints that a location may have, all right? So mediumship is person, places, and things. So it's not just talking to dead people. It's also how you feel about certain places. For example, if you are someone who can pick up and also feel something, again, this is like clairtangency, where you can, you can also do this in many different ways. You can remote view this, you can get visions. But anyways, if you can pick up things, for example, you can pick up a rock, or you can pick up a stick, or you can pick up a sweater that belonged to someone, and you can get immediate psychic information from it. You are connecting with the spirit of that thing. You're channeling the spirit of that thing. So a lot of you may think that you're not actually a medium, but you really actually are a medium. It's just that you are able to, connect and get different psychic input from different things in a different way that you may not think is mediumship, but it is. So clairtangency, feeling things. If you pick up a stone or a rock, or you pick up something that had some sort of sentimental value, like a ring or something like that, that belonged to someone, and you were able to communicate with the spirit, channel the spirit, the energy of that thing, you're definitely a medium. If you have very vivid dreams, so a lot of mediums, I would say probably 99.9% of mediums have a very vivid dream life. That doesn't mean that you have dreams every single night. It just means that you have abnormal dreams, right? So as a medium myself, some of the dreams that I would have as a child would be these huge, long, epic adventure dreams where I would be like, they're the type of dreams where you can live a whole lifetime inside one dream. Like you have a whole lifetime where you go on this huge adventure, or you travel to this different place. Chances are you have some sort of astral travel, remote viewing, bilocation, mediumship capabilities and abilities. So if you can very easily find yourself traveling in your dreams, going places, doing things, seeing people, visiting people, especially people who have passed on, or people that you have yet to meet. So how many of you have had dreams where you've met someone in your dream and then you meet them in your real life? It's kind of like precognition, right? So you can see where a lot of mediumship abilities and psychic abilities, there's a lot of overlap. But mediumship is specific in that there is this ability to transcend time and space. And so the way I kind of look at it is like this. Psychics are primarily focused on the present and the future. They're primarily focused on foretelling, predicting, that sort of thing. Mediums can take it a step further. And not only do they typically have psychic abilities, and they also have prophetic abilities, but they also have the ability to go back in time. So psychics are primarily focused on just right now, the current reality, and alternate possible multi realities that could come into play, and also predicting in the future. Mediums kind of work backwards, where we can not only tap into the current energies and see the multi-potentials, but we can also go back in time and read energies from very long ago, right? Some ways that this kind of manifests as doing like missing people work, or doing murder mystery, unsolved cases, that sort of thing. Reading in the past, reading what happened in the past, right? And so there's this kind of debate that I have with myself a lot of the times when I'm doing like mediumship readings, or when I'm teaching mediumship. And I always like to talk about this aspect of mediumship, is that mediums like to think that there's this container, the space called heaven, right? And people are within it, and they are living their best lives in heaven, and we can connect with them. We can connect with them, their current selves, within that heaven or afterlife or summerland or whatever you might call it, limbo, purgatory, whatever, right? And so a lot of mediums will believe that they're connecting with people in real time as their spirit, non-corporeal spirit is in this container, this space called heaven. I kind of believe in something a little bit different. I kind of believe as a medium, I'm not necessarily connecting with people that have passed on in their non-corporeal form as they are right now in the present reality. I kind of feel like mediums actually channel the past self of people and spirits that they connect with, especially if we're connecting with, like, say, land spirits or our spirit helpers, or we're connecting with ancestors, or we're connecting with people who have that were physical people at one time who are now passed on or deceased, or even in a coma. I mean, I've worked with people who have also done psychic readings with people who are in a coma, and not necessarily like that they have passed on. It's just that their consciousness is in another place, and that's why we need mediums to be able to access. Mediums just have this ability to connect with places, other dimensions, other planes of existence outside of just this 3D reality, right? So in a way, sometimes I feel like when I'm connecting with someone from the other side who did have a life, who was a real person, who did incarnate here, sometimes I kind of feel like I am actually stepping back in time and I'm having a conversation with them back in time, okay, and not in the present moment. I don't know if anybody can actually relate to that information. I don't know if anybody kind of feels like that sometimes. And I wouldn't say it's all the time. Sometimes I do get a very clear notion or inner knowing, claircognizance that I'm talking to someone from beyond in their current state, in their evolved state. And then sometimes I can feel like, yes, I am talking to someone from a past state. And usually there's this past connection because there is some unresolved business, or there is some things that needed to be said, or there's some unfinished business there. So just as a medium, it's kind of interesting how if you do this work enough and long enough, you can kind of differentiate between not only the spirits that you are channeling and connecting with, but when are you talking to them? Are you channeling them in the past when they were alive? And I've even talked to my husband about this too, and he seems to have this idea that when we dream is when we could be connecting with mediums from the future. Okay, so say for example, it's 50 years from now and my niece has gone to a medium and they want to do a mediumship reading and I'm no longer here and they just want to see what's up with their Aunt Christina, right? And maybe some point in my life I have a dream that I'm hanging out with my niece, and at some point maybe those two realities converge, just maybe not in the same timeline. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but we're kind of getting on the weird side of it, the kind of the fringe side of mediumship and going with time travel and things like that. But anyway, signs that you're a medium. So if you have very vivid dreams, dream work is a really important part of being a medium. And in fact, if you are considering getting into mediumship, if you're thinking about doing this work in a more consistent basis, or even just considering to do this on a professional level, you will find, thanks Aria, I appreciate that. You will find that dreaming is a really great way to work your mediumship abilities, because dreams are that liminal space in which our subconscious and our consciousness, they actually start talking, right? And a lot of the times your subconscious and your consciousness are having their own independent conversations within dreams. And that's why dreams are so weird. And it's like, you're eating popcorn, you're at the movie theater, but there's like no floor beneath you. Like it's just weird. Like you have these somewhat normal scenarios that you're dreaming about, but like for whatever reason, there's some weird aspect to it. And I believe personally that's because our subconscious and our consciousness are having these conversations. And the key with dream work is always to try to get your subconscious and your conscience to communicate together and to start actually understanding one another. And that's really what lucid dreaming can really help you do. Practicing and learning how to do lucid dreaming is a really big part of mediumship, because then that's when you can start to do astral travel. That's when you can start to have real-time dreams that you're meeting up with people that you know consciously in your mind that they have passed over, but you're in front of them right now, having a full-on dialogue conversation with people in the dream state. So dream work, if you want to get into mediumship, I would say dream work is probably one of the best places to start, because that's when you can really start to connect with these other planes and really start trusting your subconscious to bring you that information. Because what is psychic ability, right? Psychic ability is basically information that we are receiving from unknown places. And we have these fancy maps now called chakras, and we have these different definitions of our clairs abilities and things like that. But what it just is just about receiving knowledge from unknown places, and receiving knowledge that you can't necessarily pinpoint exactly how, where you got that knowledge. You just know something to be true. Now, our job as psychics, as professional psychics especially, is to deal with our ego, deal with our shadow, deal with our projections. So because in a lot of the cases, when you're new to psychic abilities, when you're new to trusting your psychic abilities, a lot of it is about figuring out that discernment between what is a psychic hit, what is an intuitive hit, and what is something that's touching and coming up and rubbing against your shadow, right? What is wishful thinking? What is just imagination, or what is insecurity that's projecting out at something that feels like a psychic hit? Because and it feels very similar. When you have that psychic hit, a lot of us talk about having butterflies in our stomach. Well, fear and insecurity can also, and the fight or flight response can also feel like butterflies in the stomach, right? So it's really hard in the beginning to kind of understand, like, what is a real psychic insight versus what is something that your ego is projecting out. And that's our job, that's our burden, as professional psychics, to kind of figure that out. And that's where, if you are a professional, that's where you really put a lot of your professional excellence training in, trying to figure that part out. And that's why you charge so much, because you have done that work. You've done the shadow work. You've done the mindset work. You've healed your ego. You've experienced ego death. You've built yourself back up to be a servant to the public at this point. So anyways, long story short, dream work is a really, really big part of learning to become a medium. And if you have a very vivid dream life, that's a really big sign that you are also a psychic medium. Another sign that you are a psychic medium has a lot in common with schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia. Now, a lot of people will say that mediums are schizoaffectives, that they are schizophrenics. I don't know. I think that I do feel like there is an overlap on that. And I do feel like there's a lot of stigma around schizophrenia. And I think it's because of the way that schizophrenia has been portrayed in a lot of the movies. Schizophrenics are usually portrayed as like completely out of touch with reality, or people who turn into psychopaths, or people who commit crime, or become drug addicts and things like that. And yes, there is that. There is that. But again, another thing too is that it is a worldview. It's an animistic worldview, in that the spirit of that person is ill, or the spirit of that person is untrained in their mediumship abilities. Now, I don't know. I'm not here to make blanket statements, and I'm not here to say that all schizophrenics can be healed. I'm not here to say all schizophrenics are mediums. But what I will say is that a lot of mediums identify with also being schizoaffective or being schizophrenic. And sometimes I feel like, for the general public, it's a spectrum, right? And on the spectrum, you have people who are severely incapacitated schizophrenic, and then you have people that are just normal, people that can mask very well, who can live a normal life, have partners, possibly have children, buy a house, have a career of some sort, be able to take care of themselves. And so I think there's a lot more people that are schizoaffective or schizophrenic that are within that spectrum, rather than on the extreme side. The extreme side, that's something I can't really comment on, because I don't have a lot of experience with that. But what I can say is that schizophrenia is characterized by this idea that you are seeing or hearing or believing things that are not necessarily there, or necessarily true or real. But I have to say that that is a perspective, right? It's a worldview. It's just a word that we have to describe a phenomena that happens. In the spiritual world, we kind of view this as mediumship. We kind of view this as being a shaman or being a what we call wounded healer, where children especially are seeing things, seeing people that aren't necessarily there. I know this for me was a huge thing that I really battled with in my early childhood. I would see people, I would hear things, I would. I had this issue for a really long time where I would be asleep but awake and sleepwalking, and I would be going about my normal life sleepwalking, and as a child. So I'm not driving or going to work or anything, but I would be sleepwalking. I would look like I was awake. I would be talking to you, but I would be in a different plane of existence. And they ended up putting me on medication for that, and that did not go very well. I ended up getting even worse, and it ended up making me aggressive and violent. So they took me off that medication. And my mom was like, my parents were just like, we'll just deal with this as it is. And so, they had to take precautions like putting extra locks on the doors and, checking on me in the middle of the night. But inevitably, I outgrew that, was what I'm trying to say. But as a child, if you saw things or you heard things or you had dreams or you were, you dealt with this, what they call disassociation, right? Where you seem like you're disassociated, but really you're just tapping into a different plane of existence. You're tapping into a different reality. Sometimes it could be, there's a lot of words to describe it. I mean, it could be the multiverse, right? And that's something that science is starting to kind of catch up with, it. There are many different timelines, all realities happening at the same time, all happening on top of one another, just in different dimensions, different pockets of time. Again, we're getting on the fringe aspect again. It's a little bit on the weird side of mediumship. But yeah, Key, you have been through this. Okay. Jessica says dreams are absolutely a way to strengthen mediumship. I astral traveled as a child when I had flying dreams, and I met people before actually meeting them in real life. So yeah, flying dreams, also falling dreams. Flying and falling dreams. Those are two signs that you also have mediumship abilities, because it means you're traveling, you're astral traveling. And I think why it comes across as falling and why it comes across as flying is because as humans, we live in this world where we don't have a language to convey what it actually feels like to for your spirit to travel. And so I think that we manifest that in our dreams as flying or falling. Yeah. But I actually stopped remembering my dreams for years after I had trauma in my life. Okay. I agree with you. And actually, I have 2 whole years of my life that I had amnesia, because I had experienced a really bad trauma, and then I was on that medication and stuff. I watched my grandfather die, and that it messed me up. I was like 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old, and I watched him die in real time, and he died in front of me. And it for an 8-year-old, that was very traumatic. And I disassociated basically for 2 years. And I had to do a lot of regression therapy. But in my 30s, those memories are starting to come back. So I bet, Jessica, I would almost guarantee you that your memories will come back at some point, and it'll be so weird, and you'll just be like, it's just a memory will pop in your head. Oh my God, I remember that now. And that's what happens to me, like, because I disassociated from a lot of it. And so I'll just have like random memories like start popping up that I've forgotten about. Like it's weird. It's really interesting. And that's like the healing journey of being a psychic, because being a psychic, yes, we're helping other people, but ultimately we're doing this to help ourselves. And we do that through like soul retrieval and, healing the layers of our aura and healing trauma and shadow work. And when we regain those memories, it's almost kind of like our ego says, okay, we trust you to remember this now. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just now opening up again and have communicated with my grandparents this way. That's amazing. That is incredible. He says shadow people were very common for me growing up. Yeah, shadow people. Also, if you experience sleep paralysis, I also experienced I usually have sleep paralysis. It's been a little while since I've had sleep paralysis, but Sleep paralysis is also a sign that you have mediumship abilities, because it's basically, I view it as, it can be two things. It can be a couple different things. One, it can be an unresolved trauma, right? So that's why it's important to do shadow work and mindset work. But also, it could be a being, an entity that is trying to communicate with you that your subconscious is blocking. Also, there's this idea, I think that, oh, FedEx is here, so some kind of package showing up. But um, so shadow people is kind of like, there's this connotation that shadow people are all bad. And I do think like there are definitely negative entities that will show up as shadow people. But I also think that shadow people are very common to people who have underdeveloped psychic abilities, because it's almost kind of like your subconscious is like putting a filter on that, and like it's like trying to protect you from that by not showing you what it is. That's interesting. Oh, thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Yeah, remembering is such an interesting and healing experience for sure. It's scary to have a whole like 2 years of your life that you don't remember. That's scary, right? He says, last night I was climbing stairs, but the handles fell off. I didn't fall. I'm definitely afraid of heights. Interesting. So that's like it's like feeling unsupported as you climb the levels. As you level up, it's like feeling unsupported, but it could also feeling unsupported, but it can also like represent that you can lean on yourself. You know, you don't need the handles to prop yourself up. You're enough. Why are shadow people not a bad thing? I'm relieved to hear this. Well, I think shadow people can be many different things. I think that shadow entities can be land spirits. I think that they can be spirit helpers. I think that they can be guardian angels and guardian spirits. I think that they can be ancestral spirits. So I don't necessarily feel that shadow people are inherently negative. I just feel like it's a way that they are cloaked, whether I don't know if they can cloak themselves as to not frighten us, but then it kind of has the reverse effect of frightening us. Or if it's kind of like a filter, like an Instagram filter, you know, like a filter that our subconscious puts on over our third eye, as to, okay, because sometimes when you catch shadow people, you're not really supposed to see them, right? So if they're fairies or land spirits, or like even I've had shadow entities come as pets that have passed on. Like if a dog has passed away or a cat has passed away, I'll see like a little shadow entity out of the corner of my eye or something like that. And sometimes I don't think that we're necessarily seeing shadow people. We're just seeing entities that we're catching glimpses of, that they don't necessarily want us to know that they're here, but they're kind of just here watching out, just checking in on the space. The shadow man hissed at me. I was looking down an elevator shaft. He just popped out of nowhere. That's creepy. And I have seen shadow entities that were absolutely negative. Ooh, that's giving me the creeps. He says another one sat on the couch smoking a cigarette. That is really creepy. I remember, I think I actually have a video on YouTube about this, but I remember one time I saw a shadow entity and it had glowing red eyes, and it scared the living daylights out of me. Like I am still scared of that. And I saw it at a playground. I was a kid and I saw it at a playground, and that was very, very terrifying. So can shadow entities be negative? Yes. But I don't necessarily think that they're always going to be harmful. And you can always set boundaries as a medium. So one training we'll do is like setting boundaries as a medium. And one of the key things, if you want to get rid of negative entities, or if you think you have shadow entities around you and you don't feel that they're helpful or conducive, you want to put wards up in your house. You want to make sure that you are smoke cleansing. You want to make sure that you're doing your floor washes. You want to make sure that you're doing your protection candles. You want to make sure that you're invoking your angels, your guardian angels. You want to make sure that you have an ancestral altar set up, because your ancestral altar is going to be a way that your ancestors will come in and protect you. I also work with the land spirits that my my land, my house is built on. I work with the trees. I work with the certain flowers. I work with certain animals. I work with like the hawks that are around here. I work with different types of just different types of natural types of things that I work with, petition and create a relationship, whether that's through creating a garden for the fairies, composting for the animals outside, making sure that the trees are well fed and watered, and you can leave offerings at trees, you can leave offerings, you can create outdoor altars for fairies or land spirits and things like that. So you always want to make sure that you have your spirit team they're protecting you. And so if you have all these things protecting you, even if you do see something out of the corner of your eye, even if you do see, some type of shadow spirit, you can trust that your spirit team they're already on it. They're already chasing them off the property, Yeah. So that's a really good. I have seen all levels of dark colors. The nicest one I ever saw was brown one in Strawberry Hill, KCK. Interesting. So you guys have seen the red eye thing too. And I think that there's even one Mothman. I think it's called Mothman. There's also it's also called Chupacabra. It's also called Wendigo, but it's known as different things in different subcultures of the United States and in different parts of the world, right? Where we have this name for these entities of red glowing eyes. Now, can I say that any shadow spirit has ever really hurt me? No. So, I don't know if anybody else can really say that. I'm not sure. Last year I saved a sparrow with a broken wing. So what that does is it buys you karma with your land spirits. Yeah, it's whenever you do things like that, the land spirits will naturally start protecting you because they will see you as an ally. Yes, Key. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about dreams, we've talked about energy sensitivity, we've talked about seeing and hearing things that other people don't. So if you see and hear things, I remember as a child, I used to see fairies and angels, and what they were like glowing orbs, and I could only see them in the sunlight. But I would see them, and I would go like this and trying to catch them. And my parents and babysitters and everybody would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just kind of trying to catch the fairies. I'm trying to catch the angels." And I saw it, and it would be like, a glowing orb, probably about like that big, and it would kind of look like a disco ball where it would, or one of those prisms, where those crystal prisms, those like sun catchers, where it would like sparkle and it would have like this floating orb kind of sparkling thing. And it'd be like kind of like this soft white, golden kind of pink color. I also used to see around here, I haven't seen them very often because they've been like in this back here of where I live. It used to be mostly just forest, but they've been like developing it. But back when I first moved here, I used to see green orbs in the forest floating around, green and yellow orbs. And that would be really, so Key says, "Oh, is that what it is? I thought it was related to my epilepsy." So epilepsy is another one of those things like schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia disorder, where we have a word for a phenomenon that happens to us, right? And so in the spiritual world, we have like this other language around that. I used to get seizures a lot, and we'll see flashes. Interesting. So, and ultimately that's for you to find your own meaning and your own connection within that. But it's just an interesting conversation around, is it epilepsy? Is it mediumship? Is it both? And do we have spiritual explanations for these things, right? Just an interesting idea. So, I would also say one of the last signs of that you have mediumship abilities is that you are interested in mediumship, right? So if you are interested in mediumship at all, and you feel it like in your heart that you believe in mediumship, or you believe there's something to it, or you feel called, or you feel like you want to help people, or that that you have experienced a mediumship reading that was really helpful for you, and you want to try to offer that to other people, and you coming at it from a place of I want to help heal this person. I want to provide this person comfort. And I really just want to help this person move on in their life. Then you definitely have signs that you are a medium. And here's the good news: anybody can be a medium. Mediumship is not some special skill that only a certain amount of people have. Mediumship is a natural right, it's a natural phenomena that we have a connection to. And in fact, we used to be more dependent on our mediumship abilities back before the internet age, back before the technological age, back before the industrial age, back when we used to rely on ancestral communication, back when we used to rely on messages from the spirits about our harvests and our hunts, and our the things that the more primal things that we used to rely on our mediumship abilities for. Now we live in this world of convenience where to know the weather, we just type in our zip code and ask for the weather, or we want to know any question, we can go on Google, which is the greatest oracle of all, and we can get an immediate answer. And so I think we have stopped naturally working on our mediumship and psychic abilities simply because we live in a world of convenience now. We need more death doulas. I agree with that completely. And I feel like mediums, in a way, are a type of death doula. Maybe not the type of death doula that we think about, like with hospice or like tending someone at their end of life, but like just simply bringing a more positive communication, a more positive conversation, a more positive relationship with death overall, and being able to still have relationships with those people or beings that that are no longer here in the physical reality. And I think that that's a very noble career choice, and I think it's also something that we need a lot more of, and to really normalize the conversation around. And so I really encourage you, if I remember, I'll do another whole video where I'm talking about how I overcame my fears of mediumship, what kept me from going into mediumship for so long, how I got over that, what are some things that I did to really get over my fear of mediumship, and some mindset, some things about the mindset going into mediumship. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will likely be coming in next Monday. We'll do maybe some more discussion around like maybe some myths and like negative stereotypes around mediumship and how we can kind of work with that. Also on a professional level, how we can deal with stigma attached to it, how we can deal with anybody who maybe doesn't believe in it, or maybe wants to heckle us about it, or who people think that it's demonic and things like that. So anyways, if you guys have any questions or anything, I would love to know what you guys thought about today's training. I will get this up on YouTube, and then I will see you guys next Monday. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.